Hello, brothers. This is the first video that covers the 10 disciplines of a godly man. It is based on the book, yep, you guessed it, 10 Disciplines of a Godly Man, authored by R. Kent Hughes. This is an awesome book, and I highly recommend that you pick up a copy. I have created 10 videos that cover the 10 disciplines covered in this wonderful book. You should see my copy of my book. It is chock full of highlights. It's just awesome. Discipline of purity is our first discipline. A great example of this first discipline is Joseph and the wife of Potiphar. Potiphar is the king of Egypt. He undoubtedly has first dibs of any woman in his kingdom. His wife is probably so hot she gives the son heat blisters. One day, when no one is around, she corners Joseph and attempts to seduce him. What would most men in his proverbial sandals do? What would you do? Recall, no one is around. Some would call Joseph a fool, but he hightails it. Check it out. 1 Thessalonians 4, verses 3 through 7 says, "It is God's will that you should be sanctified, that you should avoid sexual immorality, that each of you should learn to control your own body in a way that is holy and honorable, not in passionate lust like the pagans, who do not know God." I exhort you, men, to build the godly disciplines and habits of self-control. Let me tell you a bit about myself and how I would react to awkward lust situations. How many of you have ever heard something along the lines of, "Dude, I just saw you give her 10 Mississippis"? Anyone? Let me illustrate what I'm talking about. Imagine for a moment an attractive woman walking by. She catches your attention. And here's what you do. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi, 8 Mississippi, 9 Mississippi, 10 Mississippi. Men, what you just saw me do is a 10 Mississippi. I tracked her every movement for a long 10 seconds. This is a huge sin in God's eyes. Even something as little as 2 Mississippis is a big sin. Matthew 5:28 says, "But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart." Men, those are the words of Jesus. When I became a bit more mature in my late 20s, just a few short years ago, whenever I began a serious relationship with a woman, I would execute the following strategy. In that previous 10 Mississippi scenario, with the same woman, she comes into my view. What do? I don't let it get past that first Mississippi. There's not much you can do about that first Mississippi. You have no control over it. She's beyond your peripheral vision, and then just like that, she enters into the bounds of your eyesight. In this scenario, I immediately look elsewhere. That is, away from her. If that is not possible, I start to pray silently. "Father, let no evil thoughts enter my mind." I repeat that prayer as long as necessary. Don't forget, man, one little sin leads to a slightly bigger sin, which in turn leads to another slightly bigger sin, and so on. Do not let that first little sin deceive you. Avoid the snowball effect of sin at all cost. Men, giving women those long Mississippis is not limited to when you are in public. It can also occur in your own home. What sorts of entertainment are you watching on TV or on your computer? Would you watch those shows if Jesus was right there with you? What about pornographic websites? Men, we are called to be pure in God's eyes. Gentlemen, you may be thinking, this isn't going to hurt anyone. It's just me watching these things on TV or on my computer. It's not going to hurt anyone. But let me remind you once again about that snowball effect. Satan wants you to believe exactly that. It's no big deal. No one will get hurt by it. But like I said before, one small sin follows a slightly bigger sin, followed by another slightly bigger sin. It's the snowball effect. Before you know it, you're in bed with your neighbor's wife. Do not fall for Satan's deceptions. Also, men, let me give you a bit of somewhat unrelated advice for you married men and also for those of you who are deep into a serious relationship. Avoid being alone with another woman, even with a good, long-standing mutual friend. As an example, when I was married, I would not even go to lunch with this mutual lady friend that the both of us had known for at least 15 years. Knowing that nothing bad would happen between her and I would still not do it. Here's why. Let's say that we went to lunch together. We are laughing and having a great time. She reaches over completely innocently, puts her hand over mine and says, "This was an awesome lunch. I wish Angelica, my now ex-wife, could have been here to join us." Then we get up and each of us goes back to where we work. But the problem is, one of Angelica's friends sees all this. She has no idea who this woman is. She subsequently tells Angelica they were laughing, she held his hand, blah, blah, blah. What thoughts do you think would enter your wife's mind? What machinations do you suppose that Satan will perform to confuse your wife? This could lead to irreversible harm to your marriage. Men, I cannot overemphasize this. Be aware of not only your actions, but also how Satan can confuse matters. He can use benign actions and words and twist them in a way that causes doubt, confusion, and ultimately division. God bless you, brothers.